All right. Good afternoon, folks. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon or evening for our Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences Spotlight event. This is the kickoff to a series that will be happening every Friday at 4 p.m., where we'll be able to dive in and really talk about some of the awesome programs we have here at Carleton in our Arts and Social Sciences faculty. So my name is Flynn. I am a recruitment officer at Carleton University, but I'm also going to be your host for this evening, introducing some of the amazing faculty and current students we have on board to chat with you about some of the programs today. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get into things. There is a chat on the right-hand side of your screen there. So I encourage you to jump on, ask any questions, comment, let us know where you're coming from today. And we have an awesome team in our back end who will be able to answer any of those questions that you do have. And before we really begin, Carleton University acknowledges the location of its campus on the traditional and unceded territories of the Algonquin Nation. With that, today we have an awesome spotlight series where we are going to be jumping in to talk about anthropology, sociology, geography and environmental studies, and finally geomatics and physical geography. So that agenda is up on the screen right here beside my face. And let's just jump in and begin. So I think today we're going to begin with a student named Janie. She is in the anthropology program. And she's going to be starting off with a little question and answer about her experience as an anthropology student.
Hi, Janie. How's it going? It's Professor William Flynn here. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm not too bad. I have a few questions I'd like to ask you for the people who are listening and reading our chat.
All right.
All right. Are you ready for the first question?
I'm ready.
It's a big one.
All right.
All right. So the first question is, Janie, what made you choose Carleton in the first place? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your reasons for choosing Carleton.
So the reason I chose Carleton was the first reason was because I really loved the campus itself. And I just liked Ottawa, just the location. I'm from the GTA, so I kind of wanted to have a sense of that here, but also like a little bit more mellowed out and quiet. And also, there's not that many sociocultural undergraduate anthropology programs in Ontario, I guess. So that's another reason why I chose Carleton.
Right. And was it a big change going from Toronto to here in Carleton in Ottawa as well for you?
Yes and no. I find the whole city, like downtown aspect, you still can have that here, which is great. There's so many, one of my favorite things to do still in my fourth year is to explore Ottawa. That there's so many places I still haven't seen yet. So it's been really nice.
Right. And could you talk about some specific things about maybe the programs at Carleton that made you want to choose it, like say anthropology or Faculty of Arts and Social Science?
I think the things that drew me to the program specifically was the fact that a lot of the classes at Carleton are sociocultural, like that specific field of anthropology, and that's exactly the path that I kind of want to go in. So that's mainly that reason. And also, as I'm sure a lot of the students listening, once you do come to Carleton for this program, you will realize the faculty is amazing. They're all so great. So that's another plus to being in this department.
And I was speaking to you in another context for another interview for a podcast, Janie. And one of the things yourself and Felicity mentioned was that the sense of community that both of you have got as a result of the student association and also of the sort of environment and atmosphere at Carleton as well. Could you speak a little about that, please?
Yeah, something that just Carleton as a whole, I think, offers is just such an amazing sense of community. You don't need to look far to find someone to speak to about like any interests you have or any questions. There's always someone there to answer it. And I find throughout my 4 years, I've built such an amazing like network of people around me that I always feel that there's someone in my corner no matter what. And it's a really good feeling.
Right. And just to let people out there know as well, myself and Janie have been working together in different capacities with the Student Association, as well as a lot with undergraduate students, organising events and so forth. So myself and Janie have worked together for, I think, about the last 2 years, Janie. So we know each other fairly well as well, right?
Yeah. Bailey's great, everyone.
Oh, thanks.
Just a plug.
She's not being paid to say that, folks, okay? A+ in your next course. All right. So, you know, you're a fourth-year student. You're coming to the end of your degree now. Is there any sort of, you know, is there any particular moments that stand out to you from your degree? Kind of moments of particular pride, whether it's academic or community or anything else like that?
I think right now, like in this moment, probably like I feel like the most proud, like I am able to like speak to other students coming into Carleton, being able to share my experiences and just all the work that I've done up to this point. Being being co-president of a student association to me is like absolutely like if you told me that in first year, I wouldn't have believed you. So like all the work that I've done up to this point, yeah, I feel like I'm the most proud of myself and just where I'm at in this moment right now. So.
Yeah, because you've done a huge amount of work for the Student Association, right? You're now co-president, you've been actively involved in that. And I imagine those kind of organizations and associations are things that other students might get involved with as well, right? And integrate themselves into the department more, do you think, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. I think something one of my biggest pieces of advice that I could give to students coming into Carleton in their first year, even in second or third year, is just it is a bit daunting and maybe like a little scary, but getting involved will probably be one of the most rewarding experiences that you will have.
And just to let people know, even though we've already done an interview at 1 o'clock today for the podcast, both of us are going to be involved in another social event at 6:30, which is, maybe you could just tell us quickly about that, Janie, just so that people know the kind of stuff that's going on in our department.
Yeah, so tonight we are having our third annual Meet the Department event. This is an event for all students of any year to come out and talk to professors and graduate students. To get to know the faculty, you know, it's a great networking opportunity. And all that information you could find on our Instagram at sasa.cu. So yeah, and then you're also speaking with Emma next, who is also part of SASA. So you'll get to hear from her too.
Fantastic. I know this is kind of not a trick question, but what has your favorite course been so far and why?
Ooh. That's hard to say.
Or maybe two or three?
I am an anthropology student, but I also have 2 minors in American Sign Language and African Studies. So I have a pretty diverse background, I guess. But I will say, as weird as this may be, a lot of my theory courses, like foundational courses and those types of courses, have kind of been my favorite because it really gives you a sense of what like your reach and like really where you can expand like your research interests and all that stuff. Right.
And you know, if you were to think back, say, over the last 3 or 4 years in your experiences and your time at Carleton, what kind of skills stand out, or what kind of skills do you think you've really learned, you know, as a result of doing a degree in anthropology at Carleton as well?
I think I could say like university has taught me so much, and now as a 4th-year student, I've learned a really great deal of things. I will say like not only has it improved skills that I already have had, but it has like given me a whole opportunity to learn new things that I never even thought I would. Like public speaking, for example, was something that I just never wanted to do, but like here I am.
Here you are.
Like all these people. So it's a very rewarding experience, like doing all these things. And like, yeah, not just encouraged, but I wish everyone listening the best of luck in their endeavors in university.
That's a nice thought. And I think the point you mentioned about public speaking, it's one of those kind of skills that you learn throughout the way that's so crucial and important, right? To be able to put yourself out there, to be able to, you know, make yourself known amongst a crowded room, so to speak, right?
Exactly, yeah. So it's I don't know the right words how to say this, but making yourself known as like maybe it can be very like nerve-wracking, I guess, but it's not like the amount of connections that I've made just by joining SASA, like it will only benefit you at the end of the day. It can only go up, I find. That's what I think.
Right, absolutely. And this is my final question for you, Janie. And I know things are all sort of weird these days with COVID-19 and lockdown and everything, so it's a kind of a tough question to ask anybody. But looking to the future, you know, you're in fourth year, you're going to graduate soon. What hopes do what directions do you hope to take with your degree from Carleton, with your anthropology degree? Any ideas of next steps, however tentative?
You know, coming into university, I never thought that I would do more than just an undergrad, but at this point, I'm very much looking forward to continuing with the master's. And like, I think the cool thing is that the professors and faculty at Carleton have really like helped me so much in narrowing down my interests. And like, I look forward to having more conversations tonight and later on about what I can potentially do to like improve or like what steps I should be taking next. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Right. Well, Janie, I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, even though I'll be seeing you again at another event at 6:30 tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks very much for answering these questions, and hope, you know, really giving people an idea of what your experience has been like as a student, right? And you know, the overall package of Carleton, so to speak. So I want to thank you very much, Janie. I'm going to leave the questions at that now. So I just want to thank you, and I'll see you again pretty shortly, I'd say, yeah?
Yes, really. I'll see you soon.
All right, Janie, have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great. Thank you both so much. Thank you, Janie. That was a really great session, and students were really able to get a lot from that for sure. Now we're going to be hearing from William Flynn, who was the talking voice in the background. You may be wondering, you know, who was that? And we'll introduce William Flynn to be chatting a little bit more about sociology.
Thank you, Celine. Thank you. Sorry, folks, I just had to move my cat out of the way there. Yeah, as you heard my voice, I'm Dr. William Flynn. I'm one of the faculty in the Department of Anthropology and Sociology. And I've been working here at Carleton. I've been working at Carleton for the last 4 or 5 years, but I've been teaching here in Canada for the last 15 years. And some of my interests are particularly in the field of multimedia. So recently I was working with a professor in anthropology, Dr. Marie-Ève Carré-Mauzan, and both of us have recently published a graphic novel that talks about academic research, but to a more general and public audience. And I'm also involved, as you heard before, in a range of different educational podcasts too. So that's really my interest. And in terms of my own position in the department, I tend to focus a lot on teaching the first year classes in particular, as well as the second year classes as well. So I have a lot of interaction with incoming students, first year students, second year students, and you know, my introduction to sociology classes are usually you know, quite intensive, engaging and interactive classes. So with those kind of ideas and with those kind of practices in sociology, we thought it would be a good idea to talk to Emma McKnight, who is our student Emma McKnight is our student from sociology today. And similar to Janie, I have a series of questions that I'm going to ask Emma in turn. And, you know, we're going to hear from Emma's perspective, what her experiences have been like here at Carleton and also in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology. So Emma, I'm going to begin to start asking you our first question in a moment. So I believe this is the part where I'm put into the background. Perfect. And Emma is up there. Hi, Emma. How's it going?
Hello.
And Emma, it's very nice to meet you again. You're also an active member of the Sociology and Anthropology Student Association, along with Janie, Felicity, and a whole range of other undergraduates. And I've worked with you, I've done orientation with you, as well as a bunch of meet the department events with you as well. So we're used to working with each other. And I just want to thank you, first of all, for doing this. And I suppose my first question to you, Emma, is going to be the same series of questions that I asked Janie. But I'm going to start off with, what made you choose Carleton, Emma, in the first place? Because you're a fourth-year student now, correct, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am.
Yeah, so to reflect back on your 4 years, if you can remember back, what were some of the reasons that made you choose Carleton? Maybe you could tell our audience out there.
So my older cousin, when I came to Carleton, was in third year in architecture, and she loved Carleton so much. She told me to come. She gave me a tour of the campus, and it was so beautiful. I loved it. And I knew I wanted to do sociology because of the courses I took in high school, and I've always been very interested in it. And so, yeah, it was really, my cousin invited me to come. And yeah, and also I love Ottawa. It's such a beautiful city. And I wanted to get out of my small town.
Ah, yeah, because I was going to ask you that, because Janie said she moved from Toronto to Ottawa. So you moved from a rural small town into the big city of Ottawa, huh? Yes,
I came from Napanee, Ontario.
Ah, okay. And how was that transition for you, say, going from a small town into, a fairly large, busy, active campus like Carleton,
So it was really interesting because Carleton as a campus has twice as many people as my town. So just in that regard was really fun. Right. And I just like Ottawa. Coming from a small town, I really suggest this city because you do get the small town vibe, only with Starbucks and a university. Yeah. No, and I just really enjoyed coming. The transition was good. I met so many new people from Toronto who I would never normally meet, people from all over Canada. And yeah.
Ah. And if you were to say, if you were to think back, over the last few years of your degree, do you have a few moments that stand out for you as being kind of particularly noteworthy, particularly moments that you're particularly proud of in some way? I was wondering if you could share some of those moments, if you can recollect them.
So one of my favorite moments that really stands out to me is when I made the dean's list last year, because in high school I had terrible grades. I wasn't even sure if I'd get into university, and just Carleton as an institution is so good at teaching, and it really fit my learning style. And so I was able to make the dean's list, and I was just so proud of myself because I would never dream of that. Right. And yeah, I really have been proud of what I've done in my classes. I've become a more confident public speaker. I am really proud of a lot of the writings I do now. Right. Wow. Yeah, so that would be the main, and also meeting all my new friends.
So it sounds like you went from, like you said, right, being in high school and not getting super high grades, and then through your transition with Carleton and with the teaching there, you basically, found your academic path, so to speak, and you were able to flourish in those kind of circumstances, right?
Yeah, I'm planning on doing my master's now. If you had asked me at 18 if I'd be doing that, I would have said, no, I'm not smart enough. But Carleton has just bumped my confidence so well. I know I can do it. I've learned so much that, yeah, I would really recommend sociology and anthropology as a program, just because the people are so nice and you get such a confidence boost.
Yeah, oh, that's great to hear that we're doing something right anyway in our departments, Emma. And do you like you've taken a bunch of courses, right? Any particular courses? Is there any favorite course that stands out in your mind, or maybe a favorite few courses? Any come to mind that you can think of?
So I took Thinking the Social with Justin Paulson back in 2019. Okay. And just learning the history of sociology and all the different ideologies that go along with sociological research. I found that class really enjoying, and it really made us think. And then I liked it so much that I took Sociology of Trumpism, which is a very interesting course as well with Justin Paulson.
Very topical.
Yeah, that was not that fun. It was kind of heartbreaking, but I really enjoyed the course. I really enjoyed the course. So yeah, I like ideology courses.
So it sounds like, you're the kind of student who really likes to get into these sort of intensive, intellectually challenging kind of courses, right? And to try to, sort of push your brain and push your ideas as much as you can, huh?
Yeah, and like these courses, especially in sociology and at Carleton, they really teach you how to think, like not in a bad way, but just how to like vocalize what it is that you're thinking and put your ideas into a more professional format.
Right. And I mean, you've already kind of touched upon this in terms of my next question, like, what are some of the skills that you've developed throughout this degree? Some of the ones you've already mentioned has been this sense of confidence that you've got as a result of the courses that you've taken in Carleton, and that more outgoing sort of curious sort of expression. Are there other skills that you can think of that you haven't mentioned already, Emma, that come to mind in relation to some of the things that you've learned and that you'll bring with you from your degree?
I've definitely learned how to organize my time so that way I don't get too overwhelmed at once. I used to be a chronic procrastinator. This year that doesn't seem to be happening, so I'm going to put that down as a really good skill that I've learned.
Nice.
And then also writing skills. I always loved to write even when I was a kid, but coming to Carleton, I've learned, like I've perfected my writing almost, and I'm very proud of that.
Nice.
And just critical thinking skills. I'm able to discuss topics now and take a different perspective than I would have had I not taken sociology. I've come to understand the world differently. And in this world that we're living in, like with coronavirus and politics and everything, having this background in sociology has really helped me to navigate the world and make sense of it.
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't think of two better subjects to take, apart from geography as well, obviously, but I couldn't think of two better subjects to take than anthropology and especially sociology. I'm a bit biased, just in terms of helping students figure out the world, the rapidly changing and confusing world around us today, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I like I said to Janie, things are kind of uncertain with COVID-19. It's hard to make future plans, but do you have any plans for the future in terms of, you mentioned grad school potentially? Where do you think your degree is going to lead you, or what sort of what goals do you have with your degree, Emma?
I would like to become a social servant, specifically helping the like poor people, marginalized communities. I'd like to help the mentally ill, and I don't know exactly where I want to go, but I am interested in social work.
Right.
I haven't taken too many social work classes because I found that they were very for social work majors, but no, after I do my master's, I'm definitely going to look into maybe working at a shelter or doing something else. I'm not really sure yet.
And I imagine doing subjects like sociology and anthropology, even though they're social sciences, they do tend to focus a lot on people and a lot of the issues that are affecting people in serious ways today as well, right? So it sounds as though there's a kind of a nice connection between your degree and the kind of jobs and careers that you're exploring as well, Emma, yeah?
Yeah, we have a family friend who works for the government with the people with mental disabilities.
Okay.
And he was saying that he doesn't have anyone in his office that has a master's in sociology, but he would hire them in an instant if they did.
Right.
And so I'm feeling pretty confident about getting a job working in social services like that. I just want to help people. And I think sociology is a really good program to take if you are interested in understanding the world and helping people.
All right. And I know that was my last question, but I just want to ask you one more quick question, if you don't mind, Emma. So in terms of your experiences with the Student Association, same with Janie, do you think that being part of SASA and being part of this undergraduate society, that also has contributed to your positive experiences and your academic learning at Carleton?
Absolutely. In my first 2 years here, I wasn't very involved. And then in my third year, I joined SASA, and I wish I had done it sooner. I wish I had joined in first year when I was asked to, but I was just so nervous. And my advice for any first years coming in, don't be nervous about joining a club or getting involved in student life, because it's so rewarding. You'll feel more accomplished once you do as a student. You'll feel more rounded as a student, and you'll just you'll have something to do, you'll make new friends. Like I made so many friends in SASA. Janie is one of them. And yeah, I wish I had done it sooner. I love being in SASA.
Nice. Well, I'm really glad to hear that you've had, you know, such positive experiences both in our department as well as in Carleton in general. I was wondering, Emma, do you have any sort of comments or hints or tips that you'd like to say to our audience of students out there? Do you have any sort of, you know, sort of last minute hints and tips for them, or we can finish up as well if nothing comes to mind. It's kind of an on the spot question, so I apologize.
It's okay. I already told them that they should join and get involved with as many clubs as possible. But also, I would like to tell them not to to try and not get super stressed out in their first year, and just make sure they stay on top of things. Don't procrastinate. Don't pull all-nighters, because that's horrible. I think I've done a couple for your class and not fun. And that's all my fault. It's never the professor's fault if you're doing an all-nighter, just so everyone knows. But yeah, stay on top of things. Don't let yourself get too stressed out. Look after your mental health and get involved, because getting involved will make everything else feel like it's falling into place, as it did for me.
Yeah. Thanks, Emma. I mean, you know, just to kind of recap on some of the points that you've made, you know, it's really important, right? Just to say to the students out there as well who are listening, some of the points you made about being part and being connected to some sort of organization or group of people, it really helps with the isolation and the loneliness that, you know, myself and many other people who have gone through first year feel as well, right? And also in terms of mental health and stress, right? That actually being a part of an association or a group of friends, right? Through the university can also be a really useful resource and kind of form of support to in difficult times, because, you know, it is stressful, right? Schoolwork can be stressful. People are working, they might have kids, etc. So I'm glad to hear that despite these challenges that you've come out of it swimmingly and are looking towards a bright future in social work, Emma. So I really want to thank you for taking the time today to share your experiences with everyone here. It's been wonderful talking with you again, and I imagine I will probably see you later at the SASA event at 6:30 again.
Yes, you will.
So thanks a million, Emma. I really appreciate it, and thanks again to Janie as well. Thanks to both of you. And with that, folks, I am going to say my goodbyes, because myself and Emma and Janie have answered and asked all the questions we have. So with that, folks, well, just before I go, even though I can't see anybody who's out there, you know, assuming you're going to come to Carleton, I really look forward to having you in my first year class. Even if it's online, there are still many ways through which we can connect with students and communicate with students as well. And I just want to say to you all, I do look forward to having you in my class in Introduction to Sociology. So I look forward to meeting you all, whether it's on Zoom or some other weird platform. It'll yet to be determined. But I look forward to seeing you all, and thanks again for everyone for participating in this. So have a good weekend, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you so much, William and Emma and Janie as well. I'm sure if we were all in person right now, you get a big applause from, you know, a live audience, but we can hear it virtually. So thank you both so much. That was really great. There's really no better way to learn more about a program than to hear it firsthand from a student. So that's why this event is amazing. And these spotlight events, again, will continue every Friday to hear from students. And we'll be continuing and turning gears right now to learn a little bit more about our geography and environmental studies program. So right now I'd like to welcome Professor Jill Weigle, and she will also have a student, and she'll be doing a little bit of a Q&A. So welcome and enjoy.
Thanks, Feline. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody. It's too bad we can't see you, as Billy just mentioned. But what I'd like to do is just introduce our department, which is Geography and Environmental Studies, and we're breaking our department into two different mini presentations. So I'm going to do Geography and Environmental Studies, and then I'll be followed by Murray Richardson, who will do Geomatics and Physical Geography. So in our departments, we have programs in Human Geography, Physical Geography, Environmental Studies, and Geomatics. and we'll give you an idea of what that means. I'll just focus today right now on human geography and environmental studies. We also offer a number of minors. So this means that you can combine sort of like a sub-specialization with your major degree in geography, environmental studies, or geomatics. So you can mix and match major programs with minor programs, and it kind of allows you to maybe pursue a related interest or a different interest. So for example, if you're in environmental studies, but you're really interested in urban issues and urban environments, then you can do a BA in environmental studies and combine it with a minor in urban studies. So the minors that we have are geography as well, environmental studies, geomatics, as well as the urban studies. And we also have a new concentration in urban geography. So what's geography? Everybody thinks about, that exercise in grade 9 of pinning maps, pinning pins on a map. It's about a lot more than just maps. It's really trying to understand the complexity of human environment interactions and how they influence our everyday lives, communities, and societies. So let me give you an example. How does global climate change affect different communities, cities, and livelihoods? That would be a question that really plays with this interface between human environment interactions. Geography, we also have a unique emphasis on places, place-based analysis, and spatial analysis. So we try to bring the social and the spatial together in looking at different issues like climate change, environmental degradation, water quality, environmental sustainability, territorial conflicts, or urban poverty. Let me give you an example of what this could mean. Like, for example, we've seen in the COVID crisis that public health units have now produced maps which help to identify harder hit communities and groups within cities, allowing public health authorities to respond to those areas in more of an equitable way, instead of treating the whole city as one city, since it is a city that has different social and spatial variations and inequities as part of it. So that's a bit about geography. Our largest program is environmental studies. If you think you're interested in exploring environmental change, governance and policy in Canada or globally, this could be the program for you. And in a minute, I'll be interviewing a second-year environmental studies student, Sandos, an outstanding student, and she'll give you more of an idea of what this program is about. But it's very interdisciplinary. The kind of question that environmental studies students might ask is, how can local food systems contribute to social economies? Economies for people, not for profit. How can it contribute to food security or healthy communities? Again, these are questions that are very relevant to this so-called COVID moment as well. So students in environmental studies can study anthropology, sociology, biology, geography, history, philosophy, and political science. So it's very interdisciplinary in that way. So now I'd just like to bring in and introduce Sandos, who I mentioned earlier is an outstanding second-year student in the environmental studies program, and I'm going to try to follow the class act that Billy just put on in interviewing students and ask a couple of questions, and we'll go from there. So Sandos, thanks a lot.
Of course, I love talking about environmental studies where I can. Get other students excited about it, because I had no clue that environmental studies existed in Carleton up until like 4 months before university actually started.
That's great. Thanks for being here, and thanks for participating in this event with us. So I'll just lob you the first question. What drew you to Carleton?
So I actually originally got into Carleton for their neuroscience and mental health program, and then I was just exploring the website, and I noticed, like you said, how environmental studies is super interdisciplinary, and the actual course program, the program and the courses in it, give me so much freedom. I can pick any minor that I want, and I have 2 minors, like neuroscience and ASL, and I still have plenty of time to take other geography and environmental studies classes, and it overall just like made me feel like I'd be a more well-rounded person if I took the program.
Great. And what attracted you in particular? Could you talk more about the environmental studies program? Like what really jumped out at you and made you want to enroll in it?
Definitely the social part of geography. I noticed how environmental studies specifically focused on people now and how people are affected in like small communities and bigger communities, like right now in this moment. Like anthropology might look at other places. I'm not super well versed in this topic, but I think the class that stood out the most to me was I think I was reading it, People, Places, and Environments. It was just like the title itself, People, Places, and Environments. You know, you're covering 3 different topics, and it ended up being a super interesting class. Yeah, nothing's really coming to the top of my head right now other than just how well versed all the classes were.
Yeah, so People, Places, and Environments is sort of like the introductory course we use it for environmental studies, but also to human geography. And as I was mentioning before, it really brings together how humans and the environment interact and what are the outcomes and results from that. So you really enjoyed that course. And that's sort of like a first-year course. It's a larger course, like a lot of the first-year courses, but then you can go on to specialize in different areas. Do you have an idea yet about how you're going to specialize?
Well, I'm actually planning on going into med school after this, and I think I specifically picked environmental studies because it helps me understand my place in the environment and consider how other people are in their life, like at what stages, how little things that might not affect me completely might change someone else's life. And I think that would be super relevant to me in medicine, just understanding other people.
That's great. So I assume you'll be taking that course on health and geography in your 3rd year.
Yeah, also that how environmental studies split a little bit into science, you know, takes, you know, health, you know, the social aspect, the physical aspects, like just covers all grounds that you could possibly think of. That's
great. Can you tell us more about another favorite course, maybe one that you're taking this year?
Yeah, Sustainable Futures. That's a class I'm in this semester. It's definitely a favorite. It also makes me look at problems right now, except I feel so like my knowledge just feels immense. Because you learn about the problems, but then you don't feel so helpless about it because you learn about how people are taking steps towards change, and you kind of can see how you fit into how you can like apply yourself to that change. So you're not just learning about all the problems in the world and being like super sad about it, but you actually get to see how people are working towards it.
Some of the solutions.
To
environmental challenges, And of course, how is it going, the online learning? Because I know Carleton's doing a lot to try to facilitate that and, you know, reach out to our students and really stay connected and engaged. So maybe we could just talk about how is the online learning going? Although, of course, we wish that this will be over sooner rather than later.
Of course. For me, my environmental studies, like all my geography and environmental studies professors have been more than understanding about all of us being super stressed online. They've been giving us like extensions, left, right, and center, checking up on us, and definitely listening to student feedback. So that's one thing I really love about our professors too, is that they're kind of like your friends. Obviously, they're people of authority, but it's a lot easier to talk to them because they just feel a little more human. But it's going pretty all right for me personally, just because the professors are so nice, and plus the courses are really interesting. So I'm not like dreading studying or anything like that.
That's good to hear. Really good to hear. Could you also talk about what are some of your favorite moments or experiences that you've had so far in your time at Carleton?
So I'm actually part of QGESA. It's a bit of a mouthful, but Carleton University Geography and Environmental Studies Student Association. And last year we had a few events and those were pretty fun, but even now I'm so grateful to have this group of people to be around, and it just feels like this little community, and that's definitely one of my favorite parts, because even being online, I don't feel so lonely, and they're also all older than me, so I get to be like, hi guys, give me advice on the program.
That's great. And that's part of the social connections, and the importance of social connections, I think, is that it's also support, social support. And what kind of skills do you feel like you're learning doing your environmental studies degree at Carleton?
Definitely critical thinking and my writing. Even though some classes don't necessarily need you to write a lot, it'll require like a paper or two, but definitely improved my writing. I wouldn't say my writing was bad before, but having profs just be like, be more concise, or talk about this problem and you have to research about it a little bit, and you're like, wow, I had no clue this was happening in the world. That's the critical thinking part. You get to see things that you choose not to, I guess, in real life.
And I guess next year you'll be taking a field course.
Yep.
And do you know much about the field course? I wondered if that's always like most students' favorite course, and maybe you could just talk about what you know about that.
I don't know like an immense amount, but I do know a bit from the Gis, the people who talk about it a ton. I know one of our VP of Finance, he's doing permafrost. He did permafrost as his his field course, and he got to go, I don't remember where, but he like went and he built igloos and he studied igloos, and it was super interesting. Actually being able to apply your knowledge and not just like sit in a classroom and read about it.
So in the environmental studies, like the geography programs, students can also enroll in co-op. And we also put an emphasis on, as Sandoz was saying, applying your knowledge. So in the fourth year of the environmental studies program, you can do a practicum, which means you get a work placement with an organization. It could be a nonprofit organization like Ottawa River Keepers. It can also be a governmental organization like the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority, or it can be with the City of Ottawa. So there's different kind of opportunities available, and I guess that's something that a lot of students really talk about in terms of developing their skills, as well as networks and contacts, and applying their knowledge, as Sandoz mentioned as well. How do you find campus life at Carleton? I know it's a bit unusual this year because of COVID, but how did you find it in your first year?
I loved the campus. Like, I basically lived on it. I didn't live on res, but I spent so much time in the library, even though I would say I was studying, but I actually wasn't. But you get to like see all the different groups in Carleton just sitting in the library. Our quad is amazing. You just get to sit outside, enjoy the fresh air, walking to class, from class to class. I know everyone talks about this, but the tunnels were absolute lifesavers during the winter. I did not wear a single winter boot when I went to university.
So there's kind of an extensive, for students who are listening, there's an extensive network of tunnels that connect all the buildings on the campus. And so you can walk outside, without going out into winter weather. You can go between classes or between the library and and coffee shops, etc., all through the so-called tunnels. It's kind of like our subterranean Main Street. That's how I think about it anyway. So it's an unusual campus that way, but well suited to the Ottawa winters.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
About the campus, I also love that you could pretty much walk into any building. And like, I walked into the architecture building quite a few times and I had no classes or no right to be there. But you just get to explore the campus a little bit, and you just like watch other students, and they're like basically a zoo for you, being like, wow, architecture. You just get to learn about other programs that way. It's great.
That's cool. It's helpful to get lost, that's what geographers say, although they think that they're, producing maps all the time, so they don't, but actually there's this sort of a joy in wandering around and getting lost, isn't there? What kind of student support services have you used or found really helpful on the Carleton campus?
I used the PASS. In some of the classes that I took in first year, they offered PASS sessions, and they definitely helped. They gave us mock exams, mock questions, and they definitely helped with the actual exams and midterms. And the students who helped with those sessions were super understanding, super easy to talk to. They provided you any information that you could ask them. And then I also use the writing services that we have in our library. They have a ton of services that our library offers, one of them being writing, where someone can basically sit down with you, kind of edit your paper and tell you what you can do better.
That's fantastic. And there's also a librarian who's like the subject specialist in environmental studies and geography and urban studies, Susan Tudin. Have you met her yet?
I think I did in my first year. We went down to the basement and we played a little bit with the maps. Told not to rip them or anything, obviously, but we got to check them out. It was really interesting seeing all the globes and the maps.
Yeah, I've always found that she's really willing and to help students with their different research projects or assignments. I think that's also a great feature of some of the support services that Carleton offers to its students. What advice would you give to a student who's out there listening to us right now and in thinking about their university options?
I would say go with your gut when you're picking your program. I originally went with neuroscience, and like I said, I changed 4 months before the university started. So I basically picked my program last second, but I was thinking about it all year, being like, oh, I'm super interested in environmental studies, but I want to go into med school. And then I researched a little bit and I found that, not a lot of med schools actually need you to take a bachelor's in science. I also would say don't stress too much in your first year. It's your first year. If you mess up a little, that's okay. It's your learning curve. You've got like 3 more years to go. Don't be afraid to ask other people for help or talk to your profs. They're not, scary people, clearly. Jill's super sweet. And all the profs that I've met have been nothing but nice and understanding.
Okay, I'm going to spring some 2 final questions on you, but it's more like a word. Okay, great. It's more like a word association game, okay?
All right, let's do this.
Okay, so I'm going to say a couple of words, and then you say 3 words that come to mind.
Okay, this is going to be interesting.
All right, your experience at Carleton University.
Great, fun, and exciting.
That's good. Okay.
All positives.
And now I'm going to be a little more specific and go into your program. So if I say your experience in environmental studies, what 3 words come to mind?
A little depressing.
Because of the nature of the issues and the challenges at hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fun though. That's a little offhand, but and educational.
Okay, that's great. Anything else you want to add or say or think that students out there listening should know?
Get involved. I think the other 2, Emma and Janie, talked about this. Get involved when you do join university, but don't overwhelm yourself too much with being like, oh my God, there's so many clubs. You'll see that Carleton has like 300 clubs. But don't overwhelm yourself with joining them. Be excited to meet new students. Don't be afraid to talk to them. I know that we're all online and it's a little scary, but I know that some programs have been making like Discords or doing online meeting chats. Don't be afraid to go to those, even if you're an oncoming student. And also, just a side note, there's a Carleton Reddit that actually exists, and you can usually ask students who've been there for years about the program that you want to go into. So if you don't want to, email a professor or something, you can just usually post being like, I am going into this program. Anyone have any advice? And usually you'll get a few responses.
That's great. Thank you so much, Sandos, for participating in this, and it's been a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I guess we pass it back to Celine now, and Murray Richardson is standing by for geomatics and physical geography with Molina.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jill and Sandos. That was amazing to learn a little bit more about geography and environmental studies. You know, it's interesting. I'm not from the arts and social science faculty myself as a graduate from Carleton, so I'm learning a lot myself today about your awesome program. So it's been a lot of fun. So now again, we're going to be hearing from another professor from the Geomatics and Physical Geography program. So we're going to welcome Murray Richardson to the session.
Hi, great. Thanks, Celine. My name is Murray Richardson, and like Jill, I'm a faculty member here in the Department of Geography and Environmental Studies. I've been working here for a little over 10 years now, and before that, I studied at Trent University in environmental science, and I studied geography at University of Toronto. So I have to, one thing I always like to mention to prospective students is that personally, I'm very happy to have ended up at a school that's the size of Carleton. I find it to be, from having gone to Trent, which is very small, to one of the largest universities in Canada, Trent or Carleton is just such a great sort of happy medium size. It has all the benefits of a larger university, but also has the community feel of a smaller university and the opportunity for me now as a professor to get to know students, but of course as a student to get to know your professors on a more personal level. And so that's something I always like to mention. Now, I'm the undergraduate supervisor in physical geography and geomatics. So essentially within environmental studies, and geography and environmental studies, we have a really wide range of courses and programs. So it could be a little bit confusing for some people, but we're unique in that sense, in that not only, as you just heard about from the others, we offer courses that are both address social sciences and human geography, and also the natural sciences and physical geography, and technologically oriented courses in geomatics. So my particular interests, for example, are in water resource science and how we can apply geospatial technologies such as geographic information systems, so computer-based mapping and analysis of GPS, global positioning systems, satellite remote sensing and drone remote sensing methods to study and manage freshwater resources in rivers and aquatic environments, especially in northern regions, but also a lot around the Ottawa area. So I normally teach a first-year course called Map Satellites in the Geospatial Revolution. So that's an introductory geomatics course for students that come from all over the university to take that course, because it's quite a broad introduction to geospatial technologies. I also teach, for example, at the third year, I teach hydrology and statistics. Not everyone's necessarily favorite, but I like to try to make it as fun as possible, and it's a very important subject area from my perspective. And I also teach field courses. So Jill was asking about field courses, and last year I actually taught one of them that you just heard about, which was in Quebec, where we studied things like snow and water and soils and forests, streams and lakes, and these types of things. So just to give you a sense that that's a really quite a different dimension, but that's one of the unique things about our program, is that it really spans quite a broad spectrum of disciplines. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the two where I teach and supervise a little bit more, and those are physical geography again and geomatics. So physical geography is, I describe it as the study of the physical environments and ecosystems of Canada, not just ecosystems, but bigger systems as well, like climatology and the biosphere. So subfields of physical geography include geomorphology, hydrology, glaciology, biogeography, and climatology. And we have faculty members in all of these that specialize in one or more of all of these different subfields. And those may be words that you're not overly familiar with, but the applications of our work really addresses a lot of really pressing real world problems. So we focus on things like, as I do, like water resources, quantity and quality of water, agricultural sustainability and impacts of intensive agriculture on the environment, land use change, and permafrost and glacier loss in northern regions of Canada, not to mention climate change and the many impacts that climate change can have on all of these fields that I've just been discussing. So our work is very, very applied, and because of that, I think that the coursework that you do in those programs are really interesting and very topical all the time. So we're always pulling from like current issues and also using our research to bring into the classroom as well. Graduates from physical geography work in a really wide variety of fields, so they have careers in both private and public sectors and industry, so environmental consulting, for example, conservation authorities, municipal to federal government agencies, so a really wide range of outcomes for our students. And yeah, I think what I'd like to do next is just also do the same now and talk a little bit about geomatics. And geomatics is a term that not everyone is familiar with. It's actually an official disciplinary term, but it doesn't have wide use. And many students in the geography and environmental studies choose to take some courses in this field. And even though it may not be a familiar term for you, you're probably already interacting with geomatics and geomatics related technologies all the time in your day-to-day life. So this is a field that's really exploded like hugely in the last, well, 5, 10, and even 15 or 20 years, but especially in the last few years, and has become much more common for people to become familiar with through like location-based services with phone technologies, things like Uber and location-aware weather apps, and computer-based interactive mapping. So basically, and these things are our students in the program get to really, like, while many people interact with these technologies, our students learn to really look under the hood of those types of technologies and the software and technology that underpins them and become experts in that field. That's it's a lot to cover and explain in a short amount of time. So I'm not going to go too far into that. But we have, I just want to say that we have also a program in geomatics, and you can take either a major or a minor in that program. And one important element of both of our physical geography and geomatics programs is that it's somewhat unique in that students can take either a BA or a BSc. So depending on your affinity for science and physical sciences and math and computation, you can either dive more into that part of those fields or a little bit less and maybe focus a little bit more on the human dimensions of physical geography and the applications of geospatial technologies to that field as well. Okay, so and back to geomatics just for a second, many of our faculty members, we have a number that teach in that program, and that includes the core areas that we focus on as a department are remote sensing, so satellite-based and airplane-based imaging of the Earth's surface, and turning that data into useful information, and also geographic information systems. So that's working with spatial data within a software environment and using those tools to analyze geospatial data. So what I'd like to do now is I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Melina Den, and she's a fourth-year student, and she's majoring in BA. She has with a BA in geography program, and she has a minor in urban studies. And although she's not directly majoring in the programs that I just spoke of, she has actually taken quite a few courses from those. So we thought that she's a really good example of a student who's sort of surveyed and sampled the breadth of many of the different types of courses that our program offers, including some of the ones I was just talking about, and that we thought that would be useful for many of you to hear about. So Melina Den.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? I'm just looking to see you. Oh, there you are, good. Thanks for joining us today, much appreciated. So I have, like the others, I have a few questions that we'll go through, and the first one has to do with the choice of coming to Carleton. So choosing your university and a program is obviously a huge choice that many of the people in our audience are thinking about right now as well. Could you tell us a bit about that decision-making process for you and what made you choose Carleton?
Actually, my older sister attended, so he was 2 years older than me, and she always spoke highly of the comfortable environment, physical and just in general, like all the available amenities and the camaraderie of her program. So like Janie mentioned earlier, I'm from the GTA, so I wanted to also experience Ottawa because I traveled there before, and I fell in love with all the green space and the layout of the city and the friendliness of everything. So yeah, bouncing back to what I said though, my sister attended and she always highlighted how welcomed and connected she felt in her program. She took industrial design, so it's kind of similar to geography in that it's a smaller program. And as freshmen, we both felt a bit worried. We might not be able to engage with our classmates as much, but it was actually rather the opposite. Even now, we don't have the option for in-person activities and whatnot, but like Sandoz mentioned, there's so many online opportunities to connect and feel like, you know, kind of like at home, you could say, with your program. QGESA has a lot of great online platforms and events going on still.
Good. And was it just related to that question as well, was your choice to major in geography and urban studies, was that like something that evolved over the first year or two, or did you come right into those programs? And then the urban studies program is fairly new, of course. So what was the process of choosing your program as well? I'm curious.
I just knew that I liked kind of analyzing different relationships in this world. I also knew I had like environmental interests as well. And like you mentioned in your introduction about why physical geography and geomatics is important is because it's really topical. And I really liked that. So I felt like I wanted to see the change that I was making, as well as learn more about the world around me. And I discovered geography and I like instantly applied because I realized it was a perfect fit for me. In terms of figuring out my direct kind of like pathway in terms of urban studies, that was very recent actually. And that kind of happened after taking a couple years of a variety of courses. So like you mentioned, I did take a fair amount of physical geography courses. I also take a lot of human as well. And then on top of that, some electives I've taken that complement urban studies, and I kind of realized that I realized what I liked over like I'd say 2 years or 3 years. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, and I think that's I find that as an advisor for our students in our program, I often do like consult with students about as they finish their first year. Suddenly their eyes have opened up to a whole bunch of new possible pathways, and one thing I should stress, and you could I'm assuming you could probably attest to this, is that a lot of our programs are within geography and environmental studies are interrelated. So there's a lot of crossover of specific courses that students take, and so it's perfectly, it almost is always perfectly fine for a student to switch within a program or to add a minor or to switch the major slightly within our program without any sort of major problems, right? It's there's a lot of crossover between them. Mm-hmm. And just going back to what you said, it resonated for me because also when I went to Trent, my older sister went to Trent, and I went to visit her there, and that was sort of, it was important to have that experience. So did you come in when you were shopping around? Did you actually also visit Carleton, or did you and stay with your sister often, or?
Yeah, before I actually even went to like the campus tours that they do in like spring. I went before to the campus just to visit my sister, and it was like in the summertime, so like the quad was beautiful, and you could see like all the students milling about and kind of just really see what life is like as a Carleton student. You can see all the amenities, and it was really nice. It kind of cemented my decision for sure. Yeah. Being able to see the campus and be there, and even like, I've even like followed her to like some of her studio sessions and seen how her classmates and her work together, and like the professors, and how comfortable it is as an environment. Yeah. Yeah,
that's great. That's neat to hear. I just want to come back to courses again a little bit. So based from what I know of your specific program, like everyone has their own sort of unique path in terms of all the final courses that they end up taking. What I understand that you took really quite a variety of courses, from human to geography to urban geography to even some geomatics and physical geography. So of course, there's no pressure to choose physical geography or geomatics because that's what I specialize in. Regardless, what was your favorite? Can you choose one or two of your favorite courses from all of those? It may be hard, but what would you say are your favorites?
Yes, this was actually hard when I thought about this earlier a little bit, but Jill was right because the field course was definitely up there.
Yeah.
It was like one of the most enriching experiences I've had in like my education. And I am not picking favorites, but the introductory maps, satellites, and the geospatial revolution was a really eye-opening course for me. It's required. It's required in first year, I believe, for geography students, and I can see why it's required because it was a great introduction into geomatics. Like you said, some people listening might not even know about it, and I personally didn't even know about it until I was starting to really gear down in terms of like getting ready for university and my geography degree. So once I learned about how increasingly relevant it was extremely eye-opening. And as a first-year student, it was nice to be introduced to this new method of viewing the world. And it was in a way that wasn't overwhelming, but it was in a way that was genuinely interesting and inspiring for me to learn more.
That's so great. It warms my heart to hear, of course, but that's good. And I also was going to ask you if you'd taken any field courses, so that's you answered that. And now I'm just curious, did you take the one every year we offer the one in Lanark? That one is the most regularly offered one. So is that the one that you took in Lanark County, just outside of Ottawa?
Yeah, I took it last August. So end of August going into September. So that was really great. The way it works for people that might not know is like we all just kind of go on this trip to Lanark County in Ottawa, and we stay there for a couple days, and we do a lot of field work basically. So we gather a bunch of data in many different forms. So like data on like the environment around us, and also interviewing locals, and we all work together as a group and try to, write reports and get all this work done. And it was really kind of intimidating at first because there's a huge idea of personal responsibility, but that part is why it kind of made me like appreciate it more, because it was super rewarding to like get your own data and like write your own report, and it's fully just by you. And it's really it's challenging at first, but very rewarding. And there was many connections I made in that course to like the outer world and other courses I've taken as well. So it was like kind of a well-rounded example of a kind of a course in geography. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. I mean, I always love hearing that. I have actually taught that course on one occasion I was filling in, and it was really just such an amazing experience, because for people that are listening, that particular course is one where we really try to bring together both the physical and human dimensions of the world in geography. So it's actually taught by always by two faculty members, one who specializes in human geography and one who specializes in physical geography. And the activities are really designed to bring those two things together. So that's really great to hear. And I want to also ask us, thinking still along the lines of the courses that you've taken, I think you are a particularly good example of someone who's sampled such a wide variety of courses in our program. From all those different courses, you've probably gained so many different skills, right? Like really both hard and soft skills that you can then put in your toolkit and take with you into your career. So what are some examples of some skills that you, like concrete skills, that you find that you've developed throughout your degree so far?
I'd say in general, what all of my courses have kind of instilled and motivated me to do through experience and the structure of the courses is I feel definitely more confident when I think critically about certain issues. So compared to like high school, you do definitely get challenged to think critically, but in university, I found that it was so much more like deep of an understanding, more thorough, and that made me feel way more confident and made me want to just kind of learn more. In particular, I was not used to being thrown into like labs and field work because it felt like I said, a lot more personal responsibility, and I had to take more initiative. But again, that was incredibly rewarding. And now I feel more confident analyzing, condensing, and relaying information back, because I have a thorough understanding, or I know how to kind of gain a thorough understanding of these topics.
Great. Yeah, good. That's a great answer. So yeah, like critical thinking and analysis, and I guess would you say writing has been an important aspect as well, or like I mean, I guess with all of these things, even critical thinking, it's probably the amount that you do over the course of 4 years, right? It's just this constant sort of thrown in intense study and analysis and reporting, and then do it all over again constantly. So anything else that comes to mind? I mean, it doesn't matter if not, but that was a good answer. I'm just curious.
Yeah, other than that, I would say, other than thinking critically, learning how to take initiative, I'd say, and manage kind of your motivation and your ambition. So so you can kind of be more inspired, I guess, to move forward in your personal and career-related endeavors, because it's easy to feel really lost in this time in our lives, you know what I mean? But I definitely, over the years, have gained a bit more confidence and motivation and initiative.
Good. Great. So last question, similar to others, what are the next steps? So where are you hoping your degree is going to take you? Are you looking for jobs or a specific career path? And how are you preparing for that, I guess, your exit strategy to move on from Carleton into the rest of your life?
It's not set in stone right now. I'm still working things through, but I definitely would like to work towards development or planning. I think that's really important, urban planning, development, or community planning. So I feel like with my geography degree and my urban studies minor that I just declared, it's given me a foundation to kind of base my future research on. So I may even go back and take a master's if I feel like I want to concentrate further on particular subjects. I've actually been looking into getting a GIS certificate after I finish this April. So to kind of strengthen my geomatics, you could say, backbone. And there's many options in Ontario that I found. In particular, I'm aiming for this 3-semester course program, at Algonquin.
Good. That's great to hear. So I guess because you did you were focused on your other sort of areas of human geography and urban, and only sampled a few of our geomatics classes. So that's good that it wet your whistle enough to inspire you to keep maybe doing some more in that. That's really great to hear. So thank you so much, Melina. Those were really great answers and really clear. And I hope it was helpful for other people in the audience to hear about your experiences. So thanks again.
Thanks so much.
All right, folks. Thank you so much to Melina and Murray. That was a really great session again. This whole series was awesome, or this whole session tonight was awesome. I feel so fortunate with my job because I get to hear from so many different amazing programs across Carleton, and it makes me want to go back to school, to be honest. So it was just a great session tonight. We'll see you next week at another Spotlight series that we do have for our Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, where we will be hearing from faculty from cognitive science, philosophy, and psychology. So that'll be an awesome series next Friday at 4 o'clock. So we'll see you folks then. But before I let you go, I just want to plug a couple of really great resources that we have for prospective students this year. One of them being our Carleton 360 website. And that's a way that you can sign up and register with us with your email. And we will send you some customized information about the program of interest that you are thinking about going into next year. So definitely sign up on Carleton 360. And you could even get a chance to receive some awesome Carleton swag, like, a sweater or, some awesome pens and lanyards. We have a lot of great stuff we want to give away to students this year. So check out Carleton 360. That link will be in our Q&A chat. As well as for the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, we have our open house date finally announced for November 7th. So make sure you come out to that event. Again, it will be online, of course, and so it'll be great to see you there virtually. So have an amazing weekend, folks. Stay safe, and we'll see you at our next few events. Thank you.